Well, hello, and welcome to this, the very first edition of XANDERMONIUM with me, your host, Xander Gibb. We will be with you for the next hour, and every Sunday, 5 till 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 2 to 3 p.m. Pacific Time. And for those of you that are over in the UK, big shout out to the UK listeners, 10 till 11 p.m. So we got a lot in store for you on the XANDERMONIUM show. We're not going to have the same format every week. I want to kind of change it up a bit. We're going to have interviews, call-ins, debates, competitions, prizes, you name it. Anything you want to see included in the show, feel free to email us. Xander at xandergibb.biz. That's Xander at xandergibb.biz. If you want to prank any of your friends with a phone call, send us a message with as much information as possible, and we will endeavor to prank them and let them see how much you hate them, or not, as the case may be. So today's show is a pre-recorded show, and we're going to do an interview. Jake Pentland is a radio and TV personality, producer, writer, director, and all-round international sexkitten. He came to my attention when he was on a show revealing his mother's nuts. He is, of course, the son of Roseanne Barr, a.k.a. the Roseannator, and the hilarious Bill Pentland. I have been self-dubbed his official gay stalker, and I'm proud to bear the title. He is, of course, the leader of the cult of Jake, and I will predict he will be the next big thing, and not a penis joke in sight. I give you Jake Pentland. Good afternoon, Jake.
That is awesome. I'm stealing that from my Twitter bio.
I was actually thinking you could use that. I saw somebody was saying on Twitter the other day that your bio on your website was like, not that good. So if you want to steal it, feel free to do so.
You got it. Well, the bio, I love my new bio, and I think it fits me. But I've had some bad ones. I admit it.
But do you think it sells you well enough?
It's healing the world one emotional cripple at a time.
Yeah.
They're probably here to stay.
I actually liked the discourse that we had going on yesterday with the crazy Christian woman, and I don't know, I kind of wanted to feed into it because every time she was talking about Jesus, I was kind of turning around as a cult of Jake thing and saying, we are cleansed by the blood of Jake, and she just couldn't handle it.
I loved it.
But
I'd love to respond to those, but I think it's creepier when I don't.
Yeah.
I was always thinking, we could have a cool riff, but then I was like, it'd be so much creepier if I didn't respond, because then they would start thinking it's real.
Yeah.
I was almost going to say something like, you are my son, or something like that, but then
Yeah.
I like to let you jam.
I kind of think that, sometimes on Twitter people don't know what's real and what is real and what's serious and what's not. Even sometimes I'm not sure,
Yeah. Well, we know. We had you on my show to talk about it, and I've had many run-ins, and sometimes the funniest thing about Twitter, to me, not funny, but the interesting thing is, when you're writing a response or tweet, obviously you're hearing your own incantations and what you want to say, so you'll get a weird response. I get them all the time, and I think, God, people are so stupid. Don't ever repeat this. I know this is on your show, but I'm going to pretend like I've never said this. I'll deny it even after. But I'll go back and read sometimes to show where I kick someone's ass so hard, and I'll realize that they don't understand I'm joking half the time. And when I go back and read myself, there's been a couple times where I've read it and didn't realize it was me. When you go to show conversation, I'm like, what a dickhead. And then I see my big fat face there, and I'm like, oh shit, no wonder people think I'm an asshole.
But a couple of times I've said stuff. You see, I think it takes a while to get to know someone. I kind of feel like I know you a bit better now. But sometimes some of the things you said, I thought, did I upset him? Did I piss him off? And then I thought, no, he seems like the kind of person who'll say, hey, you pissed me off, or that's not cool. But sometimes you just really don't know, No,
and I'm trying to I'm trying to let my personality come through more than my words on Twitter. I think that's the challenge of Twitter. That's the challenge I've taken, and it's very difficult when your personality is to be sarcastic and, to never really always be serious, to fuck with people, to push their buttons. I mean, that's hard enough in conversation. That's hard enough with your friends.
Absolutely.
Expression. To do it by word, it's one of the hardest things. I really believe it's one of the hardest things to do on plain sight that people don't know you, and it's been frustrating at times because, you know, when I bitch about losing followers, a lot of people think I'm this vain, narcissistic guy, and I am, but that's not why I'm bitching. The reason I'm bitching is because then I see it's not working. Like, a lot of times people just take it too serious and they drop me off, and it takes a long time to learn a persona when you literally only have a picture and text. And I would be so pleased, and it's happened with you and a lot of people. There are people that understand that it's kind of and I don't want to say act, but it's a personality.
I couldn't agree with you more.
It takes time.
And even for me, and sorry I interrupted you, even for me it's been like a learning process, because I, you know, as much as I try and appear to be this, you know, tough, rough and ready guy that will, you know, cut you off if you say shit to me, but, you know, I kind of take things a bit personally sometimes, you know, as we kind of talked about on your show, but you really have to develop this thick skin, because otherwise you just walk away and you just think, why the hell did he say that to me? But you know, it's Twitter world. It's not real life, you know, at the end of the day.
It's not. It's actually fascinating to me, because I look at Twitter as like the reverse Matrix. I'm sure you're familiar with that movie, but to me, Twitter, with the way people are on Twitter, even though everything is exaggerated, every part of your personality is exaggerated, I believe it's a lot closer to who you really are.
I think I would agree with that, actually. I think it gives you more freedoms than you would in real life, because if the person was in front of you half the time, you wouldn't be able to say half the things that you say on Twitter.
Absolutely. I said nigga today. I would never say that in public.
Wow.
I said it to a black woman.
Wow.
It was like, you better delete that. You're going to be in a coma. And I was like, thinking, you know, it's Twitter. I can say that on Twitter. And I said, not And I told her, I said, it's very different. If I said I'd be dead. She's like, no, even you'd get killed.
Right.
But, you know, do you think I'm going to say that to her if we went to lunch together? No.
No.
I'll get my ass kicked.
Hey, I go once a week to this bar in Harlem, one of the places that we do some entertainment, and it's a predominantly black bar, and every time I walk in, everyone gives me a hug, slaps me on the back and says yo nig, or calls me the full N-word, and there it's kind of, you know, it's every other word, but for me, I wouldn't dare kind of respond with and say that back. Just for me,
I'm sorry.
No, go on.
I have no problem with the word, obviously.
No.
I say it frequently.
Right.
It's one of my favorite words, but it's more, I like the actual pronunciation of the word. You know, like some words just feel good off your tongue, and there's some words that don't. It doesn't, regardless of their definition. Like, I hate the word chunk. I hate saying it. I hate the way it sounds. And again, it's just the sound, just the C-H-U-N-K sound.
Right.
I might drop the N-word here in the next few minutes, be warned. But I love the word itself. It's obviously the connotation behind it that makes people uncomfortable,
right.
Understandably so, and why I choose not to say it. But it's my belief you should be able to say any word you want. It's the intention that's more important than anything. If I went around finding black people and started yelling at them, then I could understand getting my ass kicked. I
right.
think deserved.
Right.
But, you know, in conversation, it's like I said, it's a fun word. I don't have the negative connotation to it.
And
I think hear it for 200 years and get beaten and killed over it.
Yeah.
I imagine they'd be more sensitive, but at the end of the day, it's literally a collection of symbols that rolls off your tongue. It's
right.
your intention behind it that matters.
Absolutely, and I think it depends on the person saying it. Like, I can be out with a group of my friends who are, some are gay, some are straight, and they will say, "Oh, you stupid homosexual," or "you silly fag," and in those terms, it's funny. But if someone I didn't know said it, and they kind of meant it as a slur, I would probably want to scratch their eyes out, for starters.
That's what it's all about. But that's the intention of the word. Somebody's
right.
saying it to hurt your feelings. And therefore, even though it's just a word, and I'm a sticks and stones may break my bones kind of guy, I don't really care. People can say anything to me. It doesn't faze me. But, not everyone's like me. And sometimes if somebody were to call you a faggot, for instance, and they said it with mean intention, it's the same as almost pushing your chest. They're trying to get you, trying to incite a response. They're trying to upset you. They're trying to do all sorts of things. So your reaction at that point is justified either way. Their intention is to upset you. If you're hanging out with your buds or there are other gay guys and you call each other fags, and your intention's like, it's a lovely term of endearment, so to speak. And therefore, so it really, again, it's the intention behind the word that matters. So I think people should be able to say, I'm going to just say nigger. I'm just going to get it out of the way because it's this elephant in the room. I think it's fine to say nigger, the word itself, if your intention is pure.
Well, like in England, I have a foot in both countries. Like here, if you said, oh yeah, I was in a room and the guy said he was the N-word, they wouldn't even, in England, they wouldn't even like say the N-word. They would say the full word.
Of course.
They wouldn't even try and cover it up. It's like when I first came back to live here and someone said, oh, yeah, he said the N-word. I'm like, the N-word? What the fuck is the N-word?
Yeah.
To me, it didn't equate.
I find the term the N-word, quote-unquote, more offensive.
Yeah.
It just shows, like, you people are terrified of a word, which is just so vaginal. Such a vagina thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not stupid. I'm not going to go down to Harlem and start saying that because I'm not a moron.
No.
But, I'd be lying if I said I didn't let that word fly around my house when I'm telling racist jokes or whatever because it's funny. I don't care. Sue me.
Some of my best the funniest racist jokes that I've heard I get told by black people. Some of the best anti-gay jokes I get from gay people. Some of the best anti-Jewish jokes I get from Jewish people that I know. So I think it's about...
I know the best 2 jokes and I was bar mitzvahed. I got one for you. How many What's the difference between a Jew and a pizza?
I don't know.
Pizzas don't scream in the oven.
That is absolutely something. I see my ancestors like turning in their grave now.
But again, Joe, my intention is to make you laugh, so I don't...
Absolutely.
People are so over-fucking sensitive now. They're so politically correct. They're such giant cunt vaginas.
Yeah.
I can swear on this show, right?
Yeah, you can actually say exactly what you like because it's internet radio. But I have to agree with you because
the Ann Coulter, when I called her a cunt. This woman, Arlen Specter dies. She then tweets, looks like he's a member of the Dead Party because she disagrees with him politically, and then literally was making a joke about his death. And I called her a cunt, and I was told my response was more offensive. Just using a word, C-U-N-T is more offensive than literally insulting a dead person.
Yeah.
People. That's
I got it.
Oversensitive and pussy these people are nowadays. And no one could hear my argument after when I'm literally sitting here defending a dead person from being insulted. And he died. It wasn't like he died 10 years ago.
No.
It was the day
he died.
But more people take offense to me saying cunt. I find that absurd. I don't understand that. I don't understand that thinking. A word is a word. It
Absolutely.
It can't break you. It's a fucking word.
I think a long-term solution is that we kind of have to desensitize ourselves because even after that, like when I came on your show and we talked about the things that had kind of bothered me, I really had to remind myself that, sometimes sticks and stones, and we'll get on to the cult of Jake later on in the conversation, but I think that we have to sometimes remember that it is just words. But I have to agree with you, and I that poem that I sent you, that Ode to Ann Coulter, I actually sent that to her because for me, if we live in a free society where if she's allowed to say shit about someone that's died, why can't I say how I feel about her and tell her about it? Because you open yourself up to it.
Absolutely. And again, the only thing that scares me is if somebody's going to physically or violently hurt me.
Right.
If somebody's going to hurt my feelings, I don't give a shit. Even if it does hurt my feelings, which I'm not saying I have no feelings. Like, I get insulted probably every 30 to 40 seconds on Twitter.
Right.
If anyone follows my timeline, it's not like I'm out blasting cunt word and everyone's sweet. I mean, I get insulted for my appearance. I get, 10 bald jokes, man boob jokes a day.
Right.
And I would be lying if I said not every once in a while, not one just kind of, poked me a little and made me go, oh, man, that's, that kind of hurts. But again, then I instantly brush myself off and go, dude, it's fucking Twitter.
Yeah.
It's
Who cares?
word. And what kind of, and no offense to you, because I know, you've talked openly even on the show about being sensitive. I don't understand being sensitive on the Internet because the Internet, the normal means of communication are, debate form, argument form, and usually an insult or name calling. That happens within 1 to 2 lines, 1 or 2 exchanges of communication. Somebody's already calling someone a dumbass.
Right.
That's how it is. So that's the nature of the Internet discussion for the most part. So I think just look at it for what it is and, join the party. If you can't beat them, join them. I hate when people get on there and go, oh, that is so immature. And this is the fucking interwebs.
Yeah. I mean, just speaking personally, the reason why I kind of got to the point that it did with me, because it kind of felt like an ongoing attack rather than just like, hey, you're a cunt, or it kind of like felt more than that for me. But I actually think that I'm glad I came on your show and talked about it. I mean, I know people like, Nick the Prick, the actor, said shit, and Eli called me a twat and all of this. I really don't care about those things. Something good that came out of that was that, Marvin and I have a very good understanding now, and I'm pleased about that because he's a very intelligent man, and I think he shares a lot of the same opinions as me, and for me it was a very big learning curve.
And I think that's, the most essential part of this entire experience.
Absolutely.
Don't understand. It's like you can grow, you can learn through being insulted.
You can
learn from somebody saying you're a stupid head, or like most people instantly assume that kind of exchange is juvenile and they shut off to it, but you don't understand. You can learn from anyone, anywhere, at any time if you just open your mind to it.
Absolutely. You can even learn from Ann Coulter on how not to be a cunt. Let's face it.
Exactly.
I
mean, really. Everyone, you don't insult the dead. There's an unwritten rule that you wait, at least a couple. That's why people, when they make a joke that's too soon, they'll even go too soon. Like there's an unwritten rule that you understand. There's a time limit.
What was it that comedian? I can't think what he's. Gilbert Gottfried. He said something after the tsunami, and he lost a contract because of it. You see, I mean, I'm all for your mother is a comedian. For me, everyone has their own line of what is funny and what isn't funny, and what's too soon and what's not too soon. But I think ultimately, it kind of. It is down to the individual, but I think sometimes you do get kind of a bit burned with it. Like, for instance, the black comedian that said, was it Tracy Morgan, when he said, if my kid came home and said he was gay, I'd shoot him, and all of this. And everybody was like, and I appreciate, and he said after, he's very pro-gay, and it's comedy. But I just wonder if the roles had been reversed. If I said, if my kid came home and said she was dating a black guy, I would shoot her in the head. I wonder how. I just think, they say comedy is relative, but I just wonder when it's turned around how people would respond.
Well, it's a good point. Like Gilbert Gottfried, that type, that's shock comedy, and it's a form of comedy. It's not something that I think is better nor necessarily worse. It's just its own type. But there is a thing where I do think humor is a powerful healing tool, and therefore if something does traumatic happen or something terrible happens, there is a point which humor can be interjected.
Absolutely.
And it can actually be beneficial to the healing process. Now, that's not initial. That you're not. If your father dies, you're not going to crack jokes about it in the first, couple weeks because you're sad. So I think there's like if you want to be a shock comic, the reason you got to ask yourself again, it's intention.
Right.
What everything's about. So if your intention as a shock comic is to upset people, then you do it absolutely the day of the hurricane,
right,
the tsunami. But if your intention, which I imagine Gilbert Gottfried's was when he started, like all good comics, because I think he's very funny.
I do too.
You want to affect change with humor. You want to make a difference with humor. So
absolutely.
If you really want to make a difference with humor, shock should be, specialized and used for certain times and certain places. But if you really want to affect change, sometimes the right thing to do is to help people heal, and that's when a comic can be powerful. If you wait the 2 weeks or a month or whatever it is when the initial shocks worn off, and then you make the tsunami jokes, you might actually help people that lost members. I don't know. But if your intention is pure, you're not going to see trouble. You're not going to lose ads. You're not going to freak people out. And then if you do, you're justified to be upset and talk about, freedom of speech and all that. But if you're insulting and making jokes when somebody's still grieving over the loss of somebody they love, I think that's uncouth.
That was pretty low. I mean, she did. I think part of Ann Coulter's MO is that she wants to shock. I mean, there's an element of what I do that I want to shock, and I want people to start talking about things. That's why sometimes I do go a little over the top, so people will start to talk about issues. But just some people, I think they go a little too far.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like everything, the lowest form of any sort of art is usually the simplest sometimes. Right. And by by that I mean if you're just going to do the simplest, like, oh, I'm going to make a fart joke, usually you're not going to get the respect of your peers because it's easy and it's cheap.
Right.
And sometimes doing the easy and cheap thing, you know.
As Marvin pointed out on your Twitter feed today.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm also a believer that sometimes simplest and cheap is funny.
Right.
You know, I'm a student of comedy, believe it or not. You wouldn't know. But I grew up around the very best comics. You know, my mom, we all know her history. I mean, I got to meet, you know, Sam Kinison, for instance. And
right.
I grew up on Richard Pryor and Lenny Bruce. You know, that was my education. So Andy Kaufman's probably my hero. If I had to pick one, it'd be him and Tim Tebow. And Andy Kaufman, you know, it could be argued he was a shock comedian at some point. But at the end of the day, his most brilliant bits, in my opinion, because he did some that were long drawn out and genius. He did some that were retarded and ridiculously stupid.
Right.
And then he did some that were just so low level, so inane that they're funny. And to this day, with all my understanding and knowledge of comedy, and I'll talk about how it's brilliant and can affect change, nothing's funnier than watching someone get kicked in the nutsack.
No, and nothing's so funny as when the fat guy falls over. You know, who can explain that? But let me be.
It's funny. They're fat and they fall.
It is funny. I mean, I'm a fat guy, and when I fall over, I don't want people to laugh at me. But I'll be honest, if I see another fat guy fall over, you know, I'm like, silly ass. You know, even when you connect with that person, you still kind of want to laugh.
Of course, fat people falling is funny, and I'll tell you, you know. Me and Eli come over when we hang out all the time. We watch America's Funniest Home Videos, and we fast forward through Wipeout. I TiVo them, and we look specifically for fat people to fall. It's our favorite thing in the world. Our wives look at us like, you know, we have trouble, and we do. We're not mentally healthy in any way, but
who is?
You know,
tell me who is.
Exactly. It's okay to laugh at a fat person falling.
Yeah.
And what happens if I get in a room and I see that other people are uncomfortable, like our wives get uncomfortable by it, that only makes me laugh harder, because now you're adding in like that I'm making people uncomfortable. And then all my issues come up. Sorry, I digress there. But
in real life, if you were walking down the street and a fat gay fell over, wrong teeth in. If a fat gay guy, fell over, minced over onto his knees and really hurt himself, I'm sure you would be the first one after you left. You would say, "Are you okay, bud? Can I help you up?" Or am I wrong?
I'm thinking. Oh no, I would help them. And I would. Right before they got up, I'd let go and fall, and then I would laugh at them.
Yeah, you'd get your cell phone out, and you'd film it for America's Home Video, Funniest Home Video, surely.
It's just amusing to me because, to me, it's amusing in itself because you know I'm completely self-obsessed, as we all know, and I always think something's funny as long as I think it's funny. That's all that really matters, and I do find it amusing that. I really am raised around comedy, and I have viewed it and studied it like an art history major would study Rembrandt.
Right.
I really have, and I find it amusing.
But you know, I have to say,
I still laugh harder at farts and fat people falling. I find that in itself funny.
I think most people do. I mean, I have to say, because it's one of the points that I'd written down. I always kind of. I until your dad went onto Twitter, I didn't realize like how funny he was. I mean, some of his tweets have me pissing my pants. I mean, growing up with your mother and your dad being that funny, I mean, I guess it was like, you know, constant hilarity.
Yeah, I mean, you know, not all the time.
Let me even give you an example. This was my personal favorite of one of your dad's tweets, and I still can't read it without laughing. He said, "I haven't seen that much vanilla fluff since I stepped on a Twinkie."
What was he talking about?
No, it was just a general thing that he put out there. But even that was funny, you know.
No, my dad's very funny. My dad is very, very funny. He's shy. So a lot of people don't know it, but no, he's very funny. Both my mom and dad were funny. My dad was a stand-up for a while.
Really?
Yeah, my sisters are hysterical. I mean, my sister Jenny's Twitter famous now, and Jessica, when she goes around, she kills people in branding. I mean, like I said, we're a funny family because we take comedy very, very seriously. It's
right.
something a lot of people don't know, and you wouldn't know it about me. But I think it's funny to upset people. I think that's my particular brand. I don't know why. I need therapy. I think I just need therapy. But anyway, you had a bunch of questions. I'm talking too much.
You and the rest of the world. I think I have a theory that there is a level of how fucked up people are, and there's like, if there's a scale of 1 to 10, you know, most people say, oh, I'm perfectly fine and my life is wonderful and I'm a big fucking liar. But we all have issues. We all have stuff that we're always going to be working through. So I think everyone is fucked up to a certain level. You know, I don't know if you agree with that or not, but.
Well, you know I agree with that. I mean, I feel like that's my purpose on earth. The rest of my bio when I say healing one emotional cripple at a time is I host a podcast that fixes you without you even knowing it. And every week, at some point, I don't like to give away my genius and secrets for free, but at some point, I'm honing in on either my dysfunction or somebody else's, and I'm
absolutely.
And you know what what I think I'm doing? You ever have a knot in your back, or you just pull something and your muscles swells and you got a knot and you have to go get a massage?
Yeah.
And there's a knot, and you know, it's when you work out a knot, it's not like a sexy massage or
no
sweet. I mean, they get their fucking elbow and some Helga, some 500-pound sweet.
You've met my sister.
And it's not fun, and you're even sore for days after. But then after the soreness passes,
the relief is amazing.
And that's the thing. It's like that's what I do. That's what I want to do. I don't want to be funny. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to tell jokes on Twitter. I want to find your knot, and I want my 500-pound Helga personality to bust it out. And you're not going to like me.
That's actually a very good analogy, actually.
You're going to feel better.
That's a very good analogy.
You already have. I mean, you even told me in your... I mean, again, I hate to take credit, but I'm taking a little bit of credit. Even your brief run-in with Marvin on my show, it's better now. You feel better. You realize you might have been oversensitive, and it was fun. It is.
But I think I'm not... What?
I said you're welcome for saving you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jake. We how would we live without you?
I think.
Let me reverse a little. You were talking about your sisters being on Twitter. Now I follow both of them. I follow Jenny and Jessica. I mean, Jenny, I find her humor kind of like so out on the edge, and I get kind of like 90% of it. But some of it I'm like, are you stoned? Do you know what I mean?
She's Jenny's very smart, and she likes to work her material out on Twitter. Like my mom in the old comics, you know, back in the day, there wasn't Twitter.
No.
So you'd have to go work it out in the crowd. You'd go work like a little shitty dive bar, and you'd do like 10 minutes, and maybe, you know, and then so on and so forth. You start taking out the jokes that don't work, and you keep going to the ones you do. And Jenny's really working that out on Twitter, and I think she has a really high success rate. I mean, I think she's like in the 80%. Didn't she
write some episodes of your mom's show? Didn't she write like the last couple of episodes or something?
Well, her and my sister wrote. They're in the Writers Guild. I wasn't there in the offices. I was in school at the time, so I don't know what they did.
Right.
But you know, they're funny. They're funny.
And they both seem to be. They both seem to be very different, distinctive personalities. Like your sister Jessica, she follows me, and she kind of like, I don't know, I kind of almost feel she wants to adopt me and be her gay brother that she doesn't have.
Probably true.
But Jenny seems a little bit harder to kind of penetrate, for want of a better phrase.
Well, she's got a lot of roles.
That is the worst thing ever. I saw her bitching you earlier about something you said about your obsession with Jenny Mullen, Jason Biggs' wife.
Soon to be ex-wife, yes.
Yeah. So if you're getting her, can I have him?
Yeah, well, I'll trade, man. If you can seduce him and get him to leave her, that helps me.
We will really have to work on that. I mean, he's going to have to get on that sunbed somewhat to be a little bit darker, because he is a little bit pasty for my taste, but... You know,
she's gonna get fed up. I mean, he's an actor, so he's got no backbone. Eventually, she's gonna want a real man. So I've been very forward with Jenny Mullen. She knows that I'm ready and waiting. So it's just a matter of time.
Poor girl. That's all I can say.
I know. No, she's not interested. She does favorite my tweets when I flirt with her, so at least I get a little thrill.
I kind of always wonder, though. I know you're married, which is why I kind of don't flirt with you so much anymore. I know you miss it. I know you pine after me flirting with you. But
okay.
How does your wife react to your Twitter life? Does she ever see it?
She follow me on Twitter. She hates Twitter. She's almost divorced me over Twitter. She doesn't read my Twitter. So I don't know. I think she's just kind of, she views it as like a relief and release for me, which it is. It's just she kind of rolls her eyes at it. I don't know if she read my tweets how she'd feel.
Right.
But that's the beauty of Twitter.
But there's a certain tweeter that we kind of both interact with, and we both kind of have a love-hate relationship. And I'm not going to mention her name because I really don't want to give her any kudos.
But I know who you're speaking of.
But she.
You don't want to say her name?
If you want to say her name, you can say her name. But you know.
I do. Also known as Alicia, same name as my wife. Please.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, she is a pretty girl, and she's obviously opposite ends of the spectrum from me politically, so we kind of clash about that. And I get as ridiculous as she does. Like, in her eyes, like, Mitt can do no wrong. Mitt Romney is this big god on an altar. That's kind of how she comes across. And Barack Obama is the devil. And, you know, he is there with a big stick. And he's to blame. Barack is to blame for everything, including the JFK assassination. So I kind of play her own game.
She's right-wing. And I had, the way I met her was, I did a show titled Bridging the Gap, and I had these two women on that were known as The Real Feminists. They have a website called The Real Feminists. It's Kira Davis and Jennifer, her name escapes me, but anyway.
Yeah, I listened to that show.
And we had a great show, really friendly argument. I actually prefer to argue politics in a friendly format. Sometimes I like to, make it kind of brother and sisterly, or poke and insult. And so anyway, Something About Jen is her name. We're on. We had a great show. We talked about things we agreed on, and that was what I was trying to do. I'm trying to bring, honor and humility back into political discussion.
Absolutely. Wow. You've been reading from the same hymnal as me, definitely.
I think most people do, but at the same time, I find arguing with women is, like, honestly one of my favorite pastimes.
Does it turn you on, Jake? Be honest.
It's not even about turning. Of course, there's that. There's the sexual tension, all that. But really, what's fun about arguing with women is that when you argue with a man, he'll eventually see logic and reason. Right. Facts will eventually enter his brain. With a woman, it never happens. They just constantly will react emotional, and then they'll retreat with an R when you make a point. Then they'll just change the subject, and then they'll start insulting your appearance or whatever they're going to do. And it's fun. It's like literally smacking around like a retarded child. And I love arguing with women. It's so much
Right.
I was waiting for you to respond to that. But anyway, so I had this great conversation with these two feminists, and we got along great. And the right-wing feminists that I was talking about. And then Alicia found me, and she was a libertarian, super right-wing. And we just started arguing politics, and it just became sort of this love-hate thing. And then I found it interesting, and I've been actually trying to get her to call into my show.
That would be fabulous, yeah.
She is going to, I think she's going to call in tomorrow. I just tweeted her.
Wow.
Sentence.
Brilliant.
Multitask. And also R.J. Moeller, who's an awesome conservative guy. But anyway, long story short, I find that with her, it's better to argue politics in sort of a, love-hate way. It's
right.
It's more entertaining.
Right. Absolutely. And I get as ridiculous as she does. I tweeted her something the other day, and I said, you wait till if Mitt Romney wins the election, you're all going to be lined up and have your ovaries removed, and you're all going to be wearing identical clothing, and which is obviously ridiculous, but I didn't see it as any less ridiculous than how she kind of comes across. Because I read some of that stuff, and I think, is this the same Barack Obama that I respect that she's talking about?
The thing to know about her, I don't want to give her secrets away either, but, I've been talking to her for some time, and we do have I'd say DM conversations that not everyone gets to read, and she's a lot like me in the way that a lot of times she's just sort of pushing people's buttons. She
right.
is a libertarian, she is right-wing, but she's almost kind of my mirror image with politics because she a lot of times just likes to upset liberals.
Right.
Like I like to upset conservatives.
Me too.
Yeah, so, I mean, a lot of times she's really tongue-in-cheek about it. She's not as dumb as you think. And for the most part, she's actually a lot more left-wing than she'll admit. And that's what, the more I talked to her, the more I thought this would be a really good guest to have. And I was trying to get her to be a regular caller, be my crazy Republican friend. That's what I was that's how I was building it. But she's also, a little, she's a little, actually, what should I say?
Unstable?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you have to be careful. I love her to death. She's awesome.
Oh, you do? I mean, just read the Twitter feed between her and I. I mean, I think she's really nice, and I think she's beautiful. It's very volatile between us sometimes, but I don't mean any ill will toward her, and I don't think she does toward me. I mean, I've even suggested she's a man, but it's all part of this over-exaggeration thing that she's got going on that I just kind of play on too. I'm sure she is harmless, and to be honest, it kind of makes me think of like yesterday. There was a lot of stuff on Twitter about the shit that had been spouted by Elizabeth Hasselbeck on The View about the president, and she was really nasty and personal. And I tweeted her yesterday because she's someone who's a Republican, but kind of really taught me something. For a long time, I was really very anti-Republican, really kind of not realistic about it. I hated her, and that I'm ashamed to say that I hated someone for their political beliefs, but I thought, I saw a softer side to her, like after the president got elected, and when he was on the show and stuff, she was a lot nicer about it. But now the election time has come around, she's kind of like showing her true colors again, and for me, it just, I don't know, it just shows me, was I wrong about her, or is she just, keeping that under wraps the way she actually feels, or...
It's just the way it is, and I mean, when you get, we're less than a month away from the election, and, I was doing the show with these feminists about bridging the gap and saying how Americans are, have more in common than not, and that was the great point I was trying to make, and, we agreed on a lot of stuff, and I was just saying, small differences between Republican and Democrat. Well, that was a month ago. Now I'm on, basically saying, I'm calling them retardlicans, and I'm just blasting nonstop, and I was wondering why I was doing it. And I realized, when it comes time to an election, you can't really waste time talking about what you have in common, because you have to draw the line. You have to pick a side. I mean, you're going to cast a vote. You don't get to vote for both. And at that time, if, I started feeling just a few days ago that if I keep talking about how much we have in common, then I might accidentally get some Democrat to vote for Mitt Romney, and I think Romney is going to be disastrous. I really...
Oh, me too. I'm actually scared.
Like, really got to go into warrior mode, and that's what I'm saying. For her on the right, Elizabeth Hasselbeck, she probably feels the same way. I don't want to be talking about the similarities and being nice, because I've got to vilify him, so people will vote for my guy. That's just how it is.
Absolutely. And I think... I don't know, like the last couple of days that you know that all this business with Jill Stein getting arrested at the debate for trying to muscle in and trying to get in there, and I thought that was just such hypocrisy after the way she treated your mom. She's saying it's a right, it's a democratic right to debate. What about your mother's right to debate? She's on the ballot. She's on the docket.
Absolutely.
She deserves exactly the same right to debate as Jill Stein. And what I hate is like when you tweet people stuff and they know it's true. Like I sent this stuff to Jill Stein and said how I felt. No response. If people say stuff to me and it's true, I will probably still tweet them back anyway. I mean, I'm not perfect. People tell me things that I've said and done that they don't like, and I'm always the first one to apologize if I can be made to see that I've done something wrong. But I don't think most people are built that way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Most people won't admit their fault. I mean, I'm not good at it. I'll be like I found myself the other day, I was listening to your show last week, and a certain younger member of the Cult of Jake came on the show and really was not very nice to Michael Fishman, and I actually expected him to turn around and tear him a new ass, and he didn't. He just turned the other cheek and was really nice, and I was like, wow. I don't know Michael Fishman. I don't know him from Adam. I know he was on your mother's show, and he's done some acting and stuff like that. I have this impression about a lot of people in that field that they're entitled and they're selfish and they're up their own ass. Wow, I was so wrong about this guy, and I actually had to tell him that because that's the kind of person I am. If I feel like I've wronged you, I'll tell you, because I think that that's all part of the growth process. But
Yes.
I expected him to say, fuck you, who are you, what are you? But no, he just turned the other cheek and was so nice, and I was like, my God, this is a lesson to all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I don't know if you listened to the show where he was my guest, but I basically, and he's my friend in real life, I basically was like for an hour begging him to get out of the fucking acting business and telling him he was too good. And he is. You're not wrong to think, and everyone always thinks I'm working out my mommy issue when I say this. My mom's awesome too. This is just my experience with actors. I've been around them my whole life.
Right.
They are entitled, and they're even more narcissistic than I am, and I don't understand how you get there.
Is that possible?
It is. I've met them. Yeah, no, it is. They really are. That's why they scare me, because I know how I have I think I'm the reincarnation of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I love me. Who do you love? You have a cult, for God's sake.
I really do.
You have a cult. I mean, how much more? Anyway, sorry. Go on. I interrupted your point, but go on.
No, the point is he's a good man, and the good men don't belong in this town.
No. But he's just talked about recently going back to acting. He's talking about going back.
He keeps talking about it. I keep trying to talk him out of it, and everyone got mad at me for that show, saying I was trying to crush his dreams. But when you love somebody, you want them to be safe. If you were friends and your friend's like an alcoholic, and he's like, I just like hanging around bars all the time. Well, maybe you shouldn't go to the bar.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I look at acting as like alcoholism. So he's sitting there like, I want to get back in acting. It's like, dude, why? I want to have an intervention. Like, get the fuck out.
Absolutely.
Great father. You're a great husband. He's skilled carpenter. A lot of people don't know that about him.
No, I
skilled.
didn't know that.
No, he's like a man's man. Like, he knows. He's the guy you call and say, my wall caved in, and he'll build you. He doesn't just do patching. Like, he'll build you a new house. And he's good and he's gifted. And it's like, he's building sets for years.
I've actually heard lots of good things about him, about
he's a good man.
He's done for his family, and I'm very kind of like, how can I put it? Until I know different with actors and especially ex-actors, and I don't mean that as a diss to him, but I always feel like they're up their own ass. They can see their kidneys, and I was totally wrong about him. He seems like a very nice person.
He's a good man. I mean, literally, if the aliens invaded tomorrow, and I was in a trench, and I had an hour left to live, and I could pick a guy by my side to fight with, it would be Michael Fishman. I mean, that guy, he will die for you. He's that real.
I think that
shouldn't be in this town.
I think that's a really nice compliment. I really do.
Oh, it's true. He's also out of his mind too. So
Well, as I said earlier, aren't we all?
We are, except for me, yes.
Oh, of course, except for you, our gracious leader.
I'm very self-actualized, so I'm lucky.
Very lucky. You're talking to me, what more could you expect on a Friday afternoon?
Exactly.
Well, as we touched on Roseanne a bit, I didn't want to kind of talk about your mom for the whole...
I don't mind talking about... I love my mother, and
about my mother. I love your mother, too.
I know what you're thinking. So
and I was raised...
It's fine.
What? No, I wasn't going to go to the Oedipus thing. Don't worry.
No, I was going to say you probably feel like, Jake's his own man, and he doesn't always like to answer questions about his mother because he's trying to make his own way. But
yeah, I actually, because you do, like a lot of people, I've worked as an actor for the last 20 years, and I am Z-list, and that's cool, but I get paid to act, so I'm what?
You got to get out of acting, but anyway, go ahead. It's horrible.
Terrible. Yeah, here we go. You're giving me your Michael Fishman speech.
In fact, you say it to every actor.
I've really met a lot of actors kind of in my time, and actors' kids. I hate them. The first thing they tell you is, "Oh, yes, this is my mother," or "This is my father," or who gives a fuck, basically. I mean,
of course,
you don't. Although I kind of found you through I was watching your mom's show, Roseanne's Nuts, and that's where I kind of first saw you and thought, who is this cute gay guy? And obviously afterwards I found out you weren't gay, but I for the past, it was the 24th anniversary yesterday, correct me if I'm wrong, of the beginning of the Roseanne show.
I have no idea. That sounds right.
And I have watched that show. I watched that show. Even now I still watch that show, and it's weird kind of watching it after you've interacted with your mom. I've obviously never met your mom or spoken to her on the phone, but we talk on Twitter occasionally, and that's all great. But I kind of remember growing up, I'm feeling how the show was just so all-inclusive, and it made me feel like, as a gay person growing up, that there were other gay people out there, and it just, I don't know, it was a great show. I probably spent more time with your mom than I did with my own growing up. But I have such a level of respect for your mom, and I kind of, I don't know, she's good people. I think that at the end of the day, if your parent is famous, most people would use it to get through doors. I mean, we talked about this before, when I've been talking to you about business-related stuff, and you don't mind it, but you don't come across as like you use it. Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't. I don't use it, but I'm getting older and balder and a little less stubborn about it. Just because I've watched people surpass me and be more successful than me, and it happens all the time. And I keep saying, I'm smart, I'm motivated, I'm good at what I do, and why is it? And I finally figured it out. They lie and they cheat and they steal and they're scumbags for the most part.
Hey, believe me.
So as you get older and you're like, oh man, I don't want to be a social climber, I don't want to do it, and I don't. I think I'll always sort of be a nobody if I don't kiss a little ass. I think that's just the way the world works.
Hey, if I were you, if Roseanne Barr was my mother, and I was looking to get work in this industry, the first thing I would be saying is, hey, I'm Roseanne Barr's son.
Yeah.
I really would, because you name me one person who's got a famous job. Look, do you think Jenna Bush would have got the job on the news or whatever it is she does without the fact?
Mitt Romney, who
what?
Or Mitt Romney, who was born to George Romney, who
yeah.
a billionaire. Of course not. Donald Trump was born a billionaire. No, I mean everyone that's successful around you, they were usually born into it, or they lied, cheated their way up to it.
Yeah, there's always a degree of nepotism and everything. And let's face it, if your mother was my mother with the mouth I have on me, I would have my own show by now on the television.
Yeah, I mean anything's possible. I mean I've been on TV, but shows keep getting canceled. So my 15 minutes, I don't know if it's over or if it hasn't started yet.
I don't think it's over. But talking of the show, why do you feel the show was canceled? Because I have a theory.
I don't think my family was. Again, I'm always brutally honest, which is why everyone hates me. I don't feel my family was open to the idea of looking foolish. And unfortunately, if you want to compete, especially in the reality show format, I mean, we didn't have to be salacious like the Kardashians or anything. We wanted to make a show that was, family friendly and fun, and we did. But there is a point where you've got to sort of push the envelope. And there were legitimate fights, really bad blood fights that happened that they cut out of the episodes because they didn't want to look like, assholes. And I think that you shouldn't be in the reality TV show business if you're not willing to show reality.
Well,
I think.
Well, let's face it. I'm sure even your mom's show was scripted because you've got to kind of know what you're going to film for the day. But I think the Kardashians is scripted to an extent where they know exactly what the fuck they're going to say. They know where the fuck the words are going to be. The term
is. I had a reality show producer tell me, the ones that did our show. It's real reactions to contrived situations.
Right.
That's how they make reality shows. It's not like they just... Because our show, if it was a real reality show, it would have been Mom and Johnny on the couch smoking pot all day, and none of us would come over. So it's like you have to sort of contrive it a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
So we had situations and scenarios that, I don't want to give too much away, but, that we all knew we were going to go have dinner on Wednesday night and it was going to be filmed kind of thing.
Right.
What happened in the scene was legit, and you would always have a producer in your ear, as anyone that's been on reality TV will tell you. They'll say, hey, why don't you ask your mom, about her gastric bypass surgery here? Or, Johnny did this. They'll try and fuck with you, and my family was too smart to fall for it. But at the same time, if you're not willing to fight, if you're not willing to have drama, then it's going to get boring for people. And I think the show was funny, and I think it was warm-hearted, and I think people really liked it, but I don't think there was enough drama at all. And I tried so hard. I wrote an episode where Johnny gets mad at Jenny and Jeff because their kids were rambunctious, and Jeff keeps putting these chickens in chicken coops. They're really tiny, which is true. Jeff's, he's amoral when it comes to animals, when it comes to farming. Like, he put a chicken in such a small cage that its foot became deformed.
Yeah.
Johnny let the chicken. Johnny's, he's a big softie, so he let the chickens roam free, and they kind of tease him because the chickens are his pets and not food. And so I thought it'd be a really funny episode because there was real tension between Jeff and Johnny, that Johnny would offer to babysit Jenny and Jeff's kids and then put them in chicken coops when Jeff came to pick them up, really tiny chicken coops. And I thought it was the funniest thing. And
Me too.
If they'd done that episode, we would still be on television now.
I do too.
But everyone in my family shut it down and said that I was horrible and had emotional problems.
I mean, let's
imagine the end of the episode when you come home and there's chickens and little kids in chicken coops.
Yeah,
and we would have been a hit.
To prove a point, I think that the Roseanne's Nuts was it was brain surgery compared to Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I mean,
absolutely.
I'd be a liar if I said I don't watch it, but it's that kind of mind-numbing bullshit where you're really rooting for Scott Disick to get punched by somebody, or it's
hero.
not.
That guy's my hero. I mean, I wanted to be Scott Disick so bad on this show. And I tried. I mean, every scenario that I pitched was usually me doing something horrible because even if it does destroy your credibility, you need that. A show needs an antagonist. It just does. And
absolutely.
You won't find one in Roseanne's Nuts. You won't find one.
No. I mean,
like everyone gets along and wants to watch that. You can do television and funny and family-friendly, but you've got to interject drama.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the comments your mom made after the show ended about the gay angle, do you think your mom's kind of gay appeal and her own willingness to be anything but gay-friendly contributed towards the show being axed?
She believes that there was an episode where she went to the gay rights parade in Utah and she did a speech, and we do know that Lifetime did have issues with the initial edit of that episode, which was very much about gay pride. They had us cut it down, so it was like, hey, I'm going to go visit my family. Their argument was it's a reality show. People want to see the inside of Roseanne's home and meet her family and see where she comes from. They don't care about her politics, which I understood that argument. But at the same time, you're rarely going to see a reality show where somebody's leading a gay rights parade in the middle of Mormontown.
Absolutely.
That's interesting, and they didn't get it. Also, Lifetime didn't understand that if you want your show to work, there's these things, what are they called? They're called commercials, I think they call them in the business, and you can allocate a certain amount of your budget to letting people know you have a television show on your network. It has been done. It's shown to be successful at times if you promote the show. Some reason they didn't think that was necessary, and I think that's really why we're not still in the air, because everybody that watched stayed and watched. The numbers, we retained something like 90%. So anytime someone tuned in, we had very little drop-off. People tuned in the next week, and that's what you want. You want retention. The numbers were not what they loved, but they were only about 150 to 200,000 people lower, and you can certainly get those numbers if you put a fucking commercial on the television. They only ran commercials on Lifetime. They don't have to pay for it to put on their own network. And I found out they blew their entire budget promoting the first episode, which we opened up as a hit. We opened up as like a 1.4, which is huge. But then we dropped because that was our weakest episode, and they didn't promote after that. So it was just retarded. I don't know. I'm angry, as you can tell. I'm bitter because
hey, you and me both, and the rest of the gay community, and I'm sure all of your mother's fans all across the union. We were so pissed that the show had been stopped. Because after Roseanne, I know your mom did a chat show. I was in the UK at the time and stuff. This is obviously why she didn't get me on as a guest and, that kind of thing. But I think we've been waiting for a long time for your mom to come back and do something. But for my money, we talking about the political side of it, you only have to watch the sitcom Roseanne to see your mother's political point of view as well, because she could never be anything but pro-gay. I mean, I've always felt that she was kind of batting in the corner of gay people. I know you have an uncle that's gay and stuff. So how
mother is a gay rights activist, and I'm very proud of her.
And she told me once that she has been since she was a kid.
Yeah, she has. My family on that side, my dad's side's like these really Lutheran, right-wing Christians, and then my mom's side is like these total lefty socialist Jews. Her grandfather was a union guy and worked for Sears, and they couldn't be any further apart, those two sides.
Right.
Explains to me a lot. But she came from a family of activists.
Right.
My uncle is a huge activist in the gay community, Ben Barr, and on my show. He hasn't talked to me since he was on my show.
Was that about the gay adoption issue?
Yeah.
Right.
My mom, I'll play you a voicemail sometime. The voicemail I got from my mother after that show is going in my tell-all book.
Didn't she come on the show and fire you and all that shit and say you don't have a job anymore and
then what happened off the air?
Right.
But we're fine now.
Good.
We have a job.
You see, that's one thing that I kind of really like about you. I remember when we first started talking on Twitter, when you said to me, I said, "Oh, go take a look at my blog," and you looked at my blog and you said, I can't remember your exact words. You said it was good, but it wasn't your voice, and I said, like, what do you mean? And you said, "Oh, here I am. I'm going to lose another follower," and I was kind of amazed that the people would stop following you just because they don't agree with everything that you say. You see, for me, I love debating. I think it's an amazing way to learn about people, learn about life. But I can't abide these people that would block you and delete you just for the way that you feel about one particular issue.
Well, in their defense, I'm also, an asshole.
Yeah, well, we know that. I mean, but
so I don't blame them for that. But yeah, no. I mean, again, I don't like debate in a friendly manner. I usually start in a very bullying way, and then I soften up. If a few people have figured me out, and who we talked about earlier, the right-wing lady.
Right.
She's got me now. The thing is, if you can handle my first few swings, I'm fat and I'll gas out, and then you can slowly pick me apart. And I like to debate, I like to come out swinging, and I like to be wrong. That's the thing a lot of people don't know about me. When I debate, I'm hoping I'm wrong. Well, I have a very negative tone, and I want to be proven wrong, and then I'll feel liberated.
It is a liberating process because you actually learn from being proven wrong, don't you? I'm never too afraid to be proven wrong.
I prefer to be proven wrong than to win a debate every time.
I mean, show me facts to prove me wrong, and but don't just tell me I'm wrong. You know, for me, I have to see that.
It's not fun to be wrong, and it's not fun to loudly be wrong. I find it embarrassing. So, I look at it like, again, when I said working a knot out, it's the same thing. As I get older and grow, I want to drop where I'm wrong. I want every time I'm wrong or have a wrong idea about something, I want to release myself from that, because the more wrong shit I let go, the more times I'm wrong that I stop being wrong, then the more right I'll be.
Absolutely.
I don't understand why people don't look at it that way.
And and I think the thing is that we're here for so little a time, and I always put this. I quite often put this on my Facebook pages, on my Twitter pages. I'm not here to make you like me. I'm here to make a difference, and I sincerely mean that. It's great if you like me. We all want to be liked, but I would rather it be on my tombstone, "Hey, here lies Xander Gibb. He made a difference," than "Oh, we liked him."
Yeah.
And I think that for me that's my MO. That's my kind of reason for doing the things that I do. So let me ask you some quick fire questions, because I know we're going to be getting to the end of our time very soon.
Yeah, and I got to pee.
Me too, and I need coffee. So at the Roseanne show, we know that that your mom kind of based the characters on her kids. We know that the character Jackie was modeled after you. Ha ha. No, we know the character DJ was modeled after you. Which was Jessica and Jenny, which was Becky, and which was Darlene. Let me tell you who I think before you tell me. I think Becky was Jenny, and Darlene. No, other way around. Sorry. I think Becky was Jessica, and Darlene was Jenny. Am I right?
You are both right and both wrong, because the correct answer is they were actually a hybrid of both my sisters.
Really? That's very interesting.
Jenny and half Jessica each one. That's the correct response.
Wow. That's very interesting.
No, but you can never be wrong or right. So when you come an opinion, so that's good. But yeah, no, it was a hybrid. Jessica was the older, so technically Becky would be more Jessica, but Jessica was the one that was more sort of negative and gothy, which was Darlene's character. Becky was a little bit more bubbly and bright, which Jenny was like, and then when they both went through their hormonal changes because they're girls and all girls are crazy, they both get bitchy.
And your wife knows this theory that you have, that all girls are crazy?
Every single woman is crazy. I do believe that. I think that they have a different brain than us. I think they are incapable of logic and reason. But I have met a few exceptions. There are some women that are smart, and I think they're the ones that are post-operative transsexuals.
So we're back to Alicia. We're back to Alicia then. All right, let me get through some more of these quick fire questions. Where are we? Which was your favorite Becky, Alicia Garanson, or Sarah Chalk?
I think Lisa was the better performer as Becky, but Sarah Chalk, I am actually a huge fan of. Scrubs
Me too.
is one of my favorite shows of all time. And I think she is an underrated performer. But as Becky will always be Lisa Göransson.
Cool. I agree. So you're James Michael. Where did Jake come from?
I changed my name when I was 7 to Jake. I don't remember why. No one in my family remembers why. It is a common nickname for James, like Jim or Jimmy. I think I had a cousin named Andrew that wanted to be called Jake, and I thought he was cool. I'm sure it wasn't anything profound, but throughout my life, I have changed from Jake to James. I was James all the way till I graduated high school. I was Jake from 19 to 25, and then I was James again for a couple of years. So I kind of change them every once in a while. But my legal name is James.
Right. I actually got a DM from someone the other day saying, why have I referred to you as Jim in tweets? Which I think is funny, you know.
Well, I have a lot of nicknames.
Yep.
Douchebag, asshole, bald.
Yeah, they're just some of the ones that we use. Okay, did the cult of Jake come out of Nuts or the radio show, or an amalgamation of the two?
Well, the reality show is where I got my followers on Twitter. Otherwise, I'd probably be around 11 now.
Right.
And most of it were gay guys like yourself that want to have sex with me. And from that...
Wait, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. From that, I did the radio show, and the cult is something I came up with on the air.
Right. Cool.
So yeah, the cult. The people come for the reality show and they stay for the cult.
So how do you feel about A, people thinking that you're gay, and B, about the fact that you have a gay following? And I know we kind of joke about it a lot, but I don't really want to have sex with you. I do like you. I think you're a nice guy. I'd love to go and have a beer with you and, you know, be your friend, but I'm not looking to get into your pants, you know. And neither is
trying to sleep with me.
Neither is your wife, by the way.
Unattractive. Yeah, neither is that is true. I am the sexiest man alive, and I know that, and so there's no hard feelings. But here's the deal: I knew when we were taping Roseanne's Nuts, every time the camera fired up, that I knew that everyone was going to think I was gay. I knew that at the time. And I remember even calling my wife, I think it was like the third or fourth day, and I said, I just want you to know when this is all edited, people are going to think I'm gay. And she said, okay. I'm very sweet, and I'll tell you why I thought that, okay? I'm very sweet. I have a very sweet relationship with my mother when she's not screaming at me. And I knew that for the sake of the reality show, it would have to appear as if I lived in our house in Hawaii. I live in L.A. I've been in Hawaii maybe twice. But I started thinking, a sweet boy who's always around his mother in his 30s. My wife refused to be on television. She was ashamed of me. So I knew I'd never have my wife around. I would always be sweet, and it would look like I lived in our house. And then when you factor in that I have very feminine qualities when I talk, I have what I call gay hands. My hands sort of flurry about. And I also sit more comfortable with my legs tightly crossed. And it holds my sack. I don't like to do the man thing where your ankle is resting on your knee. It hurts my ankle. So I know that I would think I'm gay if I watched the show. Let's just put it that way. Now, as far as having a gay following, I love my gay following because gay people are always open-minded. They're always funny. They don't mind pushing the envelope. And I find them to be very loyal and friendly, and I have no issue with homosexuals. I am not one, but I have no issue with any.
Good.
So I'm secure in my manliness.
Very good answer. And you do realize that your boyfriend is going to be tweeting you after he hears this.
What'd you say?
Do you realize that your boyfriend will be tweeting you after he hears this interview?
Which one's my my boyfriend?
Marvin.
Oh, Marvin, of course.
Yep.
I love Marvin.
Yep.
Marvin's a fascinating individual.
I actually think Marvin is a very interesting person, and I think he's a very intelligent person. But I'm not going to say any more nice things about him, because he wouldn't be saying them about me. What's with Eli's terrible sound effects?
The best thing about Eli's sound effects, in my opinion, is how poorly he uses them.
Yeah.
But he gets very sensitive about it. The best thing about Eli is he's so effing hysterical. He's literally the funniest person on the planet.
He's a twat, though.
What's that?
He's a twat. I'm only saying that because he called me one, so.
Yeah, no, he's really, really funny, but he's also really, really neurotic, and his neuroses and anxieties, like, literally get the best of him. And to me, it's always been amusing. Ever since him and I have been friends, I always call him Cameron. I don't know if you remember Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm Ferris, the cool one in the scenario, and he's Cameron, the weird. And that's how I view him. But the truth is, Eli is way more handsome, way in better shape, way more charming, way more successful, and way funnier than me. But as long as he lets me have that, we get along fine. But when it comes to the sound effects, he's very nervous about it. So I can feel his tension. That's what people always tell me I should help him with the sound effects. But it's becoming more and more fun for me for him to do it and occasionally do one wrong and then yell at him, because I just know it makes him more tense and neurotic, and it's just fun. It's like poking a cobra.
Hey, I even offered to say, I have some one of the jobs that I do as a DJ. I have like a bank of sound effects. I even offered to send them to him. Nothing. Won't talk to me. Won't respond to me on Twitter. I think he's afraid.
No, he's very protective of the sound effects, and I think he's going to be brilliant at them. Honestly, a lot of those aren't his, and we've been trying to load sound effects for a long time. Blog Talk, you'll see soon, has a lot of problems. And
you were telling me.
Yeah, so most of those are from the the uncensored guys. We use their bank, and
right.
A lot of times you'll hit one and it'll delay for a second or two. It doesn't. When he hits play, it doesn't play. So it's not always his fault. I'd say 95% of the time it's actually not his fault. But he's also not really jamming. Like, he's really mean-spirited, and I think that's funny. And he's feels guilty about being mean-spirited. So
I don't know if you realize, but the idea of quickfire was to have shorter answers.
I'm sorry. You're right. You go ahead. All right. So let's.
You're now so famous that there's a quiz about you on the Internet Movie Database. Did you know about that?
Yes.
And did you do the quiz? And how many points did you get?
I got them all wrong because they would ask when I was a production assistant or when I worked in production. The credits are such horseshit. I'm usually doing so many different things that I don't know how it gets credited, and I don't even know what half the credits mean. So I did not do well on my own quiz. Right,
and you obviously run a very successful production company as well as tweeting 24/7. And I didn't
multitask.
Absolutely, I've heard that, but I didn't realize until I was doing the research for this interview that your production company actually produced the Roseanne sitcom.
This is her production company,
right?
Tight that I run, and we were co-producers, but it was more of a Hollywood name thing.
Right,
Sometimes
I see.
They won't pay the actress more, so you'll see it in a lot of things. Someone gets executive producer credit, but as far as the credit goes, yeah, of course, because it's my mother's production company. She was that show. She was a huge part of that show, obviously.
Absolutely. Well, there was no show without her, was there? Let's face it.
Right. Exactly. I run the production company that did do the sitcom. That's partially true.
So what are you working on currently, and is there any truth in the rumor that you're going to be producing the Xander Gibb show for television that's going to be called Making It?
I would gladly do that. I am, unfortunately, a producer in name only. I did produce Roseanne's Nuts. I was a producer on that show, believe it or not. I'm the reason that show was good. But in all honesty, my mother just hired an agent 4 days ago, and I've been asking her to for 12 years, and to allow me to pitch television shows to networks. I need an agent, and I think after 12 years of yelling at her and begging, she finally understood it. I have probably 20 shows ready to go.
Wow.
It's cut and edited. I just have never been able people. A lot of people think, being Roseanne's son, that I have these doors open, but you got to remember, she's burned a lot of bridges, and also she doesn't quite understand that, how sequences work. She's an artist and a creative thinker. She doesn't think in business sense. So a lot of times she'll go into a meeting thinking it's funny to rag on her son. She'll be like, my son's so stupid, he never does any work. And then she tries to then sell me as producer after she says that. So the last 10 years, I've sort of been locked away in this hovel, and I am working hard. I mean, I'm cutting a thing with Gregory Sipes, the gay guy from the show, who's also not gay.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, him and he has a show I'm producing, and I'm actually, when I get off the phone with you, I'm finishing the sales tape. So I work hard. I'm trying, but my show needs to be bought and sold. Anything I produce, somebody needs to give me money to produce it, and that has not happened.
I hear you. I have two projects that I've been circulating for the last year and a half, 2 years, probably even longer. One is a sitcom and one is a drama, and they're both absolutely brilliant, but it's so difficult to get a foot in the door.
It's almost impossible, and that's by design. I mean, even the son of Roseanne Barr, I can't get my foot in the door, so that's... You're
Roseanne Barr's son?
Huh?
You're Roseanne Barr's son?
I am. I actually do admit it when I'm bitching about how I can't get a leg up, then I like it.
All right, let's just do some last quick fire questions.
I'm going to piss myself.
All right. Y fronts or boxers?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Y fronts or boxers?
Wife hunt?
Y fronts or boxers?
What's wife hunt?
Y fronts.
What the fuck is a wife hunt?
Y fronts as in underpants.
Oh, well then say underpants. I wear boxer briefs. Wife hunt.
Look, you're fucking mad. Law and Order, Special Victims or Criminal Intent?
I watch neither one. But
okay. Fox or CNN?
CNN.
Mickey D's or Burger King?
Mickey D's.
On immigration, deport or naturalize?
Immigration, deport, or naturalize?
Yep. As in
naturalize.
Cool. On abortion, ban it or right to choose?
Fucking not only right to choose, but I'll do them for free because I hate children.
Obama or Romney?
Obama, come on, I'm not a fucking idiot.
Ketchup or catsup?
What was the first one?
Ketchup or catsup?
Ketchup.
Michelle Obama or Ann Romney?
Is this who I want to sleep with or who I like more?
Whatever you like. You can.
Michelle Obama.
Michelle Obama. Bin Laden, were we right to kill him, or should he have been given a trial?
We were right to kill him.
Absolutely, I agree there too. Very last question, so you can go and relieve yourself in the bathroom. Your mom's running for president. Are you going to be voting for her?
I'm voting for her. I am an Obama supporter. If it were any other year, I would vote for her, but this election's too close to let Romney win.
I hear that, but I think she's actually done what she set out to do. Myself.
I have the utmost respect. I think it's amazing. I want to know. I'm curious how many votes she'll get. I love my mother, but this is if trickle down comes back, we will not recover this time. We've already been destroyed through Reagan and both Bushes. Barely clinging on to any hope that this country will survive.
Absolutely.
And if we do it again, it's going to get bad. And that's not a scare tactic. It's just you can't let greedy cocksuckers keep their money.
Hey, not all cocksuckers are bad, remember. You mean Republican cocksuckers.
Yeah. No, I mean cocksucker in the, not in the actual sense of licking a penis. I mean cock.
I know.
Like dickholes.
I know. Absolutely. Because you can't sort out 8 years of bullshit in less than 4, can you? Let's face it. 8 years of misadministration. You can't just sort it out in 4. No way.
Of course not, and even then, Obama's not perfect. If there was someone better, I'd vote for him, of course. Everyone makes mistakes, but this isn't even about Democrat or Republican.
No,
this isn't about cleanup or Bush. This is about the idea that if you let greedy shit-eaters keep more money, that you're somehow going to see it. They don't get rich by sharing. You don't get rich by sharing. You get
Definitely not.
hoarding.
Definitely not. And finally, tell everybody where they can hear your show. And when?
If I knew, I would. It's been in flux.
It's Saturdays.
The two gay guys that fight. It is Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Blog Talk Radio / I believe it's uncensored radio now. It was unscripted. But it's a long story short because unscripted, they had Jeffrey Emmett. And they've gone from unscripted to uncensored. There's legal disputes, all sorts of stuff.
Oh,
my
gosh.
shows have not been appearing. They were pulled off iTunes, so I don't.
Wow.
I keep telling people to go to places to find it, and they're not finding it. So long answer short, I have no fucking clue where you can hear me.
I think they should follow you on Twitter and actually see the link that you post every week, because that's what gets me there, basically.
That's the right one?
And my wall full of pictures of you.
blogtalkradio.com/uncensored radio or unscripted radio, and then you got to go on that page and look for the Jake Pentland Show, which is the Saturday show of It's confusing. I don't know. Fucking. That's why I'm fucking a nobody.
You're not a nobody. You are Roseanne's friend. No, you are Jake Pentland, and I thank you so much for the time you spent with me this afternoon on my very first show, XANDERMONIUM, and I look forward to catching up with you again very soon. Thanks again to Jake
Welcome to Blog Talk.
Pentland. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Well, that's it. That's the end of my very first show. I hope you enjoyed my interview with the wonderful, sexy, amazing, what was the other thing you told me to say? Oh, yeah, genius Jake Pentland. You can catch his show Saturday afternoons, as he said, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. U.S. time, Eastern Standard U.S. time. And you can catch me every Sunday, 5 to 6 on Blog Talk Radio, 5 till 6 EST, 2 to 3 Pacific Standard Time, and 10 till 11 p.m. to those of you in the UK. Thank you very much for listening. Stay safe, and I love you.